take too much about Olympics. And okay, let's get going. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 365, Laurel Hubbard and Futurama's horrifying trans Olympic athlete episode. What a wonderful combination of ideas. Thank you so much, Jessie Gender. So
I hate it already.
In principle, yeah. This came out just last week, July the 30th, so 2 weeks ago. And it has almost 40,000 views. This is Jessie Gender, in case you didn't hear me the first time. And she's got about 85,000 subs. She's been growing ever since we've known her. And if you look at her description in the video, she's got links to transgender folks deserve to play sports and transgender puberty blocker legislation and why TERFs misunderstand The Handmaid's Tale, which I find absolutely hilarious. It's not hard to read The Handmaid's Tale or anything by Margaret Atwood, but apparently TERFs just can't do it. Out in one ear, out the other. So, yeah.
Wanting children to put on blockers is child abuse. Jessie, you are for child abuse. You're for malpractice.
I'm wondering if Jessie actually was on blockers when she was growing up.
How?
No, because
no, of course not.
The person has videos of himself as a gay person in his 20s, so definitely not.
Oh.
Yes, this is not. That technology was not a thing back then, I believe. They would have had, or even the idea of putting pubescent kids on blockers. That's a fairly new thing, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that people would ever want to alter their children's development just because they don't feel like it. No one feels like...
It's because parents are talked into it. Parents are talked into it by malpractitioning doctors and by activists and by teachers and all of that other nonsense. With, your child is not behaving according to sex norms. Your child might be trans. You should put your child on blockers so that your child will not go depressed and kill itself later on.
That could be the case, but
and they're basically
still responsible for the outcome. So
yeah, but that parents are guilt-tripped into hormone blockers and child transitioning. That is a thing. When the children have no idea what's going on, when the children are confused, the children may not even believe they're trans. That is the worst cases. Then, of course, you have the times where kids are talked into believing they're trans, or they latch onto, my friends are trans, I don't want to be left out. All of that shit.
My friends
are called retardation.
It's everything you can imagine and some things you can't imagine are happening in order to get children to transitioning onto hormone blockers, including the big lie that everything is reversible. No, it's not, especially with blockers. You just halt development, and that development cannot be caught up after you get off of the blockers. And when you put kids on blockers, in case you have actual gender dysphoria, when you put kids on blockers, almost all of them transition in the end, and many of them regret it anyway. Then, if you don't put kids on blockers, and this is what we knew before this whole blocker bullshit came up, about 80%, according to what study you look at, it's a little more, it's a little less, but so I say roughly 80% of kids naturally that with no interference, with no medical interference, go through puberty, lose their dysphoria by the end of it. And that is a preferred outcome, if you ask me. Because nothing is worse than having gender dysphoria and or having to transition. Because that's the only means to getting rid of it then. So naturally getting rid of it is the best outcome. You have a better chance at a normal life. And not being hooked on medicine for the rest of your life. That's a cost factor too, and that's not talking about the toll on your body, because your liver has to process all of that for your entire life. That's stress.
Okay.
And thing is just, if you put your kid on blockers, you deprive it of the very high likelihood that it loses the dysphoria naturally. Because the brain cannot naturally grow out of it. You deprive the child's brain of that opportunity. That's why they then transition in the end,
All right.
even though they wouldn't need to.
Well, let's actually talk about whatever Jesse's getting onto. I'm sure that might pop up in the conversation, but it seems like the focus might be on Futurama, which might be a little more entertaining, I hope, because talking about Olympics and transgenderism, because all I have to say is we have one Canadian who came out as transgender in 2020. She was part of the soccer team, and because she was still a woman physically on the field, as well as this year, the Olympic Committee didn't care. So she can call herself a woman or a man or whatever. It doesn't make a difference to them. She was born a woman on the women's team. That's fine.
So biological woman?
Yes.
Was she on testosterone?
We don't know exactly that. We don't have the test results. That was all.
That is important, because if a woman goes on testosterone, that would be the equivalent to doping.
Right. So something.
So that would be against sportsmanship.
Yeah. So there's an issue there, but I'm sure it's going to come up in the video. If not, then we'll definitely bring it up because it's a big issue. Anyway, let's get going. Here's Alexander Welch. Remember when Los Angeles gave female hormones to troubled boys? No, I don't. And I'm glad I didn't live there. So that would be a lot of troubled boys on hormones. Never heard of that before. Okay. Anyway, 32 minutes and 43 seconds. This is going to take some time. I doubt we'll get through it all. But
sorry, I just caught the super chat. Yeah, I've heard of that, and it's scary.
That is weird.
They had them in either in juvenile prison or in the orphan system or something.
What was the intention of that? To calm them down? Like, what would that do?
Yes, to make them more compliant.
Oh boy.
Which is an acknowledgement that hormones do have such effects.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's get going. Hopefully this video will play. We were having problems the past few minutes, and I was about to change the video because it just would not play, but now I got it to play, so hopefully it'll run. So give us a moment if it doesn't. So I thought she was playing tennis. First we saw basketball. Now she's holding a baseball bat. Ha ha, very funny.
And the person behind her is like already looking at her like, are you stupid?
Are you retarded? You look kind of retarded.
Yeah.
Didn't want to say it.
I also noticed a lack of hips.
Yeah.
Something to work on, Jesse. Although you should focus on your face.
Oh dear, that's not nice.
Not any other body part. Your face.
What's wrong with your face?
Yeah, I was close to making that joke, but really, for passing, you need facial surgery. You need a face job. Seriously.
Okay.
Not the boobs. I know those. If you have actual dysphoria, that's important.
Wait. No. Yeah. We love the boobs.
Priorities.
It's okay. I approve the boobs. Start with boobs. Everything else should follow.
You heard it first, folks. Smart approves of the boobs.
Even Wisp will back me up on this.
No.
Yes, you will.
Not in this case, no.
Come on, you love boobs.
You can, yeah, but you can use prosthetics until you get your face job. That makes passing so much easier. And Jessie, if you just see the face, does not pass, no matter how much makeup she puts on.
All right, that is a good point. I agree. That is a good point.
And here, what I was actually wanted to say.
Just put a paper bag on her. That's gonna make it good.
It's not gonna. Oh, God, no.
Yes.
But here, this scene is Jessie is deliberately tiptoe jumping so that the boobs jump. It's just you're giving off vibes of an autogynephile, and that is a bit scary, to be honest. But it would explain why you know absolutely nothing about trans science, for real, and go with all this choose your own adventure bullshit.
Okay. Here's Tyler Preston. Thanks for the donation. Oh boy, it's Jessie Gender. If she believes that the episode of Futurama is transphobic, and I guess that every TV show or movie that does the gender bender trope is now transphobic. I don't know what she's going to say yet.
She does.
Well, if she makes the
episode, and
if she has to claim in the title,
Futurama is her favorite TV show.
Yeah, if she has to claim in the title, she's going to complain about what Futurama got right long before this was a problem. And the whole joke is Bender at least got facial surgery.
Okay, let's go.
You
Hey
see?
there! I didn't see you there. Just me out here doing some lovely sports, training for the
With no one? You're playing with no one. Okay.
transathlon. You know, like a triathlon, but trans. Because apparently, when you're transgender, it automatically makes you great at sports. I mean, it certainly
No,
did
that's
me.
what
I
you
came out and
bullshit.
I just dominated every sport I was in. I mean, I'm not completely out of shape and out of.
Okay, Jesse, that joke is bullshit because you're putting up a straw man. Trans doesn't make you great at sports, you idiot. No one's saying that. The problem is that you, with your male physique, your male body, just as I have one, go into women's sports. I will dominate most women. Easily. Even without putting any training in.
Unless it was
I have
weightlifting,
to...
then you'd lose.
Dude, I need to watch out how much I work out so that I don't build too much muscle, because I was trained out once, and once you do that, your body remembers that, and when you start working out again, your body builds muscle really, really quickly, in comparison to not having ever built that up before. And currently, I have a what do you call that in English? The bar, the pull-up bar,
Right.
to help my back. And I do pull-ups every day, a couple times. But I just when I make water for my tea, so I have the bar in the same room, and I just do a pull-up and or just hang off of it and shake and shake around a little, because it just makes everything in my back align back into balance. The problem is, if I do too many pull-ups, and I'm surprised how easy that is. As a kid, I couldn't do it at all. Now I can just out of the blue, without any training, I can do a pull-up or 2 or 3, but I'm not going that far. I don't know how far I could go, because I'm already noticing that my arms are getting bigger, and I don't want them bigger, because even though my voice is shit, I've explained several times why I'm stuck mid-transition. My arms would build up really, really fast. And I don't want male muscly arms on me, because that would trigger dysphoric reactions again. I don't want to look like that. I once had a 6-pack, and I thought, and I wasn't aiming for that. It was just there, and I thought, that doesn't look right. So, and any of these athletes who build up their male physique are very likely not having gender dysphoria. They don't have that. They do this for other reasons, be it fetishism, be it easy wins. Some just want easy wins and mutilate their bodies in some ways. I mean, many athletes do that already, without the trans thing on top. That you could say that's just a cherry on top. So the whole bloody thing is, no matter, I'm for over 4 years, I'm on hormones now. I will always have more muscle mass than the average woman. I have a different skeletal structure than the average woman. I have a physical advantage over the average woman. That is simple fact. And no amount of hormones will change any of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen any women who come out as transgender go and play for the boys' team. Never. That has not happened once.
Oh, they want to, but sometimes they're not let. Sometimes they don't let them. Like there was this in the kids division, in wrestling, some American school, and she was already on hormones for months or a year, and they didn't let her fight with the boys because legally she was a girl. But essentially she was on testosterone for a year. She was dominating all the other girls. She was taller, had more muscles. She was starting to grow a male physique because they did that during puberty with her. it's the same thing. You push testosterone into a body, and it turns it's basically doping. And if you do that, and that goes for all trans women, because we go through a male puberty just like any biological male body does. And that, if you count us as women, then we are women who went through a lifetime of doping that turns our bodies male. That is a massive advantage. That's like if you remember the old jokes about Eastern European hammer thrower women, because they were full of testosterone. They didn't look much like women anymore.
All right.
And this is just why it is unfair for trans women to compete in the women's division. It doesn't matter how much you want to delude yourself or change legislation. It's simply unfair. Open up a trans division or go into things where it's everyone participates equally. That's okay. But otherwise, sorry, stick with the men. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Breath just setting up that camera and walking over here. I mean, just look at all these sports things that I have that I definitely did not just buy at Dick's Sporting Goods for this video. Come on, a trans woman going to Dick's? That's just too on the nose. But as many of you know, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics are going on right now. And as someone who knows all about the sports balls in all of their forms, I also know that one of the major controversies surrounding the Olympics, besides the very fact of why they're even going on while we're still in the middle of a pandemic, has centered around weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, the first ever openly transgender athlete to compete in the Olympic Games.
That is a man.
Laurel's inclusion in the Olympics has become a focal point of an already ongoing conversation around trans people in sports, specifically trans women in women's sports. Now, there have been a lot of discussions, both good faith and, well, let's say, not so good faith, about trans inclusion and fairness in sports. And we've already seen a ton of this come out in things like anti-transgender legislation in the United States, aiming to keep trans people out of sports, even going so far as to suggest genital inspections for kids in Florida for one bill. And we've also seen it as well in anti-transgender rhetoric that has been used to galvanize dogmatic anti-trans hate groups, both in the United States and the UK.
You're full of shit because you don't want to understand the problem, Jesse.
Okay, so if you guys don't know about that weightlifter, I don't know how they measure how to get in because as a trans.
Testosterone.
Yeah,
that's all they check.
I know, but the testosterone count of that fellow was over 200, so it's like 220, 230, which is pretty low for men. The average for men is.
Wait, I have to translate that.
It's nanograms. It's the per blood.
Nanograms per deciliter.
Per deciliter, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
The average woman is between 15 and 60, I think. It's around there. So
no. Testosterone for women is okay. I think we use different measurements. The average for men, and I think you just put the comma at a different the point at a different decimal. So in Germany, the average healthy levels, I believe, for testosterone are between 8 and 21 at most.
What measurement?
Per deciliter.
It's the same. It's the same as Smut says. So it would just be 800 to 800. Where you say it would be 800 to 1800, 2000, something like that.
Well, the for men it's all over the place, from 300 to 1,000, depending on your age. And
1,000 is still low. I think 1,300 might be I think that's the average. 1,300 is the average here. If you want, I can look for my blood work. I have it somewhere here. It has the should be the healthy measures also in there. Back in a second. It's in the other room.
It really depends on where you're getting your numbers from, but the main thing I wanted to say was that he is still multiples of factors more testosterone than the women. So
I believe it was up to the country of origin of that athlete to decide if he or she can go to the Olympics, and like New Zealand was like behind her.
So I'm back. It's because if you are trans and you're transitioning, you should have your blood work done at least once a year to check whether everything's fine, because you're messing with the endocrine system, and that is a very messy thing, and you do not want to mess anything up in that stuff. Might just take a while to look through his folder here. I'll let you know when I have it.
Okay, it's not a big deal, but I just wanted to say that regardless of that, he's still physically a man, and his blood represents that.
Yes, and the female levels are, by your measurements, by your numbers, the natural testosterone levels for women is under 50.
Okay.
Under 50 units.
So already he's 4 times, if not 5 times more than the average woman. And I would imagine...
Yeah, that means he's not taking testosterone blockers.
And I'd imagine that the women in their weightlifting class are probably in the high 40s or 50s, I imagine. I'm just guessing here, because once you start pumping...
By the way, the athlete, if
I'd be surprised
someone doesn't know, she failed to even do the minimum. So like she couldn't compete on the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what a loser. And I think, as far as I could puzzle it together, all of the trans women athletes that wanted to go to the Olympics, I don't want to say chickened out, but had all made decisions or failed to compete, or had made decisions to drop out early. So I think there's been some pressure going on, but personally, I think it's for the better of the Olympics. Because this is shit you don't want to tarnish the Olympics with, because I think the Olympics are aware, and Japan is aware, that this shit will destroy any faith and fun into sports when the Olympics have enough big troubles already to deal with.
All right, let's get going.
Gender-critical TERFs in the United Kingdom protested Hubbard's inclusion in the Olympics with some of the weirdest eggplant protest signs I've ever seen outside of New Zealand's London embassy.
I think that's funny.
I've already done a whole video breaking down the good faith arguments surrounding trans people's inclusion in sports, because I do think there are a lot of complicated questions without clear answers.
Jesse, look how easy you look like a man.
Kind of reminds me of Weird Al Yankovic in some sort of sports video or something. Minus the crazy hair.
Just needs a mustache.
Mustache?
Oh, I thought it was in here. Must have filed my medical stuff together for once.
Okay, let's keep going.
I'll find it some other day.
Talk about when it comes to including trans people in sports. And I highly recommend that you check out that video for that discussion, because I think it's a really important one that I think all of us should just be having a conversation.
I believe
but
you,
today,
Jesse, that you're very
video,
factual about this
from a
information.
different direction.
Of course.
Jesse, you get your information from Tumblr.
Sports gets twisted into transphobic narratives that push misinformation, stereotypes, and biases about trans people. And because, I'm a super nerd, I figured the best way to do that was to use...
I think technically, by Jesse's standard, I would be a gender-critical trans woman.
Gender-critical TERF, because why not?
I'm not a feminist!
No. Like, how does she know that, like, those people at the New Zealand embassy were TERFs? Because, like, the only thing I saw is that there were a bunch of women. But how does she know that, like, they were feminists?
Because they have no other word for that, I think.
Oh,
they're not bringing up
throw around.
And they completely go over the term medicalist, which people use differently, admittedly, which accounts for trans people as well as non-trans people alike. That means the stance that you are for the actual medical science, the biology, the sexology behind it all, and of the stance that that you need a proper diagnostic process, that self-identification is not enough, that you need that you need gender dysphoria in order to be considered trans, and I would also add that it is irrelevant to tell anyone, or even detrimental to tell anyone that you're trans if you do not plan to transition. Except, of course, you are already in therapy or something, where you talk with your therapist about that whole bloody thing, which is already part of the whole diagnostic process and therapy, etc. Because it could be other things that you just mistake for being trans. That happens enough. Because if you don't have dysphoria, how would you know whether you have it or not? If you are confused about some other thing, have some other pains or problems in your life. So the only time where it's relevant to tell anyone you're trans is when you start transitioning. Like, you want to prepare your friends and family for it. And after that, once you are passing, because that's usually the aim of people, because we don't actually want to be trans, we want to be the other sex, but not for fetishistic reasons, but simply because it gives us peace. It shuts the dysphoria down. What we would really like is the dysphoria to go away and just be able to have normal lives. So if it was possible, we know that it's not possible to completely become the other sex as our brains think we are. That's the problem. We know it's not possible, but we need to alleviate this pain at some point. Otherwise, that's where you get the psychological stress and potential suicide from. If you don't have dysphoria and you transition, you may just realize what an error you made and, well, suicide because of it. Go depressed and suicide. And that suicide will then be counted towards our suicide statistics because, this is a trans person who committed suicide. And then these activists, like Jessie, will then claim, trans suicides are up. We need to transition even more people, even earlier. And then the suicide rates go up even more. Thank you. Point being, the medicalist position is you need actual gender dysphoria. You need a proper diagnosis, not from some hack job. And you need to transition. Otherwise, and after you pass, the only people relevant to know whether you're trans is your significant other and your doctors. Nobody else needs to know, and people who go that path, and it's why you hear so little from them and speak up so little against the people like Jessie and worse people, is because once you've reached that stage and people treat you like the other sex on the street, they do not even, you get to the point where you get berated by non-trans SJWs about what trans people go through, and they accuse you of cisplaining to them. I've heard several stories of that directly from people who had that, and they usually do not clear up that they are actually trans, because why would you? Those people are not worth it, and you wouldn't want to blow your achievement really. And it's kind of it's almost like a compliment. Then when you get berated by an SJW about, you're so transphobic, how could you know what it's like to be trans? You're a cis man, cis woman. Like, okay, keep believing that. It's very nice of you. Yeah, I went a bit off topic, but yeah, Jessie, you're dumb.
Okay, let's actually continue.
One of my favorite shows ever in order to guide us through the discussion, and I'm talking about the show Futurama. I think anyone of my age who loves science fiction probably adores Futurama, the amazingly creative sci-fi parody from the writers of The Simpsons. This show was like my jam as a kid, and honestly, still today, I still like to put on episodes on Hulu just to relax and...
I don't think you could name even a tenth of the references in Futurama that inspired it. Like all the robot tech, where you have the conductor of the trains being a robot in the door, and the one in the that's driving the train has his hand welded to the lever, or it is the lever. Those are all references to Stanislav Lem, who was very critical of socialism, by the way, and all this cult shit that USJWs are doing. You should read Lem. then you might also grow more appreciation for Futurama or more hate for it. Depends.
Down. Many of us remember its numerous classic episodes like the heartbreaking Jurassic Park. I mean, who didn't cry at the end of that video? The dog waited his entire life just for Fry to come back. I will wait for you. But one not so fondly remembered episode centers around this topic of trans women in women's sports, specifically around the robot character of Bender transitioning into a woman to compete in the 3004 Olympic Games. Oh boy, this episode is
It's wonderful.
Great.
It's
basically
awesome.
every single transphobic concept that I've ever seen done in comedy shoved into about 20 minutes, which honestly,
It's not transphobic. It's a
quite
critique
an
of
admirable
you
feat.
assholes,
I mean,
of assholes
making it,
like
at
you,
least
Jesse.
to my eyes, one of the most horrifically offensive episodes in modern comedy history.
Horrifically.
Jesse.
Hawk said commented that what all my best qualities are made fun of in the show.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah,
offensive. It's horrifically. It is a horror show of offense in this
And
comedy.
I love that episode because you can't insult me with that because I'm not that kind of asshole. Bender is a grifter, just like most of these alleged trans athletes. That's all. It's the episode is making fun of a grift and of that scam mentality, that narcissistic, slightly psychopathic, opportunistic mindset that just thinks, oh, I can cheat to win something. And if you listen to some of these trans athletes, like that cyclist, I don't remember the names of these people, you listen to interviews with that person, and it is clear that this is just an asshole who's doing this for easy wins. These are just people who want to control others and want to dominate. If they could get a position as an emperor with slaves, they would gladly do it. And that's the whole thing. This episode is not horrific. It is just sticking the finger in the wound that wasn't even there when the episode was made. You people came along after. This episode was a prediction of your insanity, Jesse.
When did that episode even air? I think it was in the middle of the 2000s.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
nobody gave a shit about trans stuff at the time.
Yeah,
I think even gay stuff was just commonly mocked from Hollywood.
Yeah, but always in a funny way.
Yes,
it wasn't anymore in a derogatory way. It was just in a funny way. And Bender's just doing the thing that, well, you can just see it as an allegory to doping. Because that's the same. That's why I said it. It's the same thing as if you were on steroids since puberty, and that leaves lasting effects.
All right.
Of course, about the season 4 episode Bend Her, which, to be fair, is a perfect title. I am always down for a pun, no matter how transphobic. But I also understand that this episode came out before the explosion of transgender awareness. So today, I'm going to be looking at the episode Bend Her not to put down a crappy episode of a show that I really love or tear apart its comedy. I mean, there's enough SJWs like me that want to destroy comedy if Joe Rogan and Bill Burr are to be believed. But instead, I want
Joe Rogan and Bill Burr transphobic?
You're an idiot, Jesse. You're an idiot. And I'm starting to doubt whether you ever had gender dysphoria. Maybe you really were just a gay man, because that happens quite a lot. That gay men believe they're trans.
Transphobes ever. What the hell?
Jesse, if you had a choice of whether to get a boob job or a face job, and you went for the boob job, that tells me that you're more on the fetishistic side than the dysphoric side.
We're not sure if it was because surgery, though. We're not entirely clear what happened there.
Well, okay. To get, we've seen other videos of her, or at least thumbnails. To get cleavage right is possible even if you don't have boobs. You just need to know what you're doing. With Jessie, I think it's a boob job, and those prosthetics aren't cheap. If it's good prosthetics, it's not cheap either. And those things also don't last forever. And if Jessie had actual gender dysphoria and went on hormones, even if her body phantom has the need for like C or D cups, the dysphoria would go down in 2 to 4 weeks. Would massively go down, even though there are no visible bodily changes. But the brain normalizes very quickly, and that makes the dysphoria bearable. However, as far as I'm aware, we don't have data on what happens if you get off the hormones again. And personally, I don't want to make that experiment myself. So the boob job wouldn't be a first priority anymore. And you could, in the beginning of it, like, how old is Jessie? Jessie's mid-40s, late 40s? That wouldn't be your first priority anymore after you're on hormones. So what you need for passing is facial surgery. That's what, to my knowledge, with whom I've talked with, and what I would do too, go first with. Because that's the first thing people see. People don't check whether your tits are real. People look in your face. And you, Jessie, don't seem to have a problem with your face. And that makes me question what's going on with you if you are this deep in the SJW bullshit. In this pseudoscience that you get from Tumblr and Facebook and everywhere else but actual scientists. That you get from sociologists at best.
All right.
You discuss the transphobic beliefs that are shown in this video around trans women in sports, as well as other related transphobic stereotypes that this episode touches upon. So we're just going to be using it as a touchstone on why each of these ideas are harmful and misguided about trans people in sports. And if you stick with me through the whole video, I'll even give you an Olympic medal when you're done. You just have to catch me to get it, because I'm a fast runner and I'm good, so I'm totally in shape. That's
hilarious.
What I'm trying to say.
Funny.
Oh god, what have I done? Anyways, let's get into it.
Your self-deprecating humor.
Well,
is not funny.
transitioning probably made his humor non-existent.
I'm just sorry for the other people who wanted to play tennis and have to watch this person for like 20 minutes set up their camera.
Like, did the person that was behind her left because this was too cringe?
Jessie paid for renting the field.
Could be a public park, so probably no renting at all.
It looks like a public park, or like something that you can rent.
We have that. Can you use them for free there?
Yep.
Okay, I think we only have
Sport
the high
is free
society
in the
tennis
States.
things here.
All right.
What? Nothing's free.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the people's sport.
The public park, yes.
With a hammer and sickle statue.
Thanks for $1.11. This man bitch is actually going after my favorite episode of Futurama. I literally rip off some of the jokes of this episode and went by Congo Jack for a while. Even how I design my costume is based on Bender. She can bite my shiny metal ass. Oh my god.
Awesome.
Someone really likes this episode. Okay. Here's one more. Taker 610. Thank you.
Get in touch.
All hail Robonia, the country I didn't make up. Okay.
Bender sings the anthem of Robonia at some point. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Alrighty.
It's amazing. He's making up the lyrics as he goes.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get into some Futurama episode. That'd be nice. I don't want to see her stand around on a tennis court for all this time. So. All right.
It's not transphobic. There's no transphobia.
The episode starts off with the Planet Express
Only bullshit
crew attending
grifters like you.
the 3004 Olympic Games in Madison Square Cube. Already from the very first shot, we can tell that the show is science fiction. I mean, the Olympics not completely destroying
No shit. It's a science fiction show. Oh my god.
a city's infrastructure and economy while simultaneously pushing.
Was this in the bonus season, or was this in the standard seasons?
This was the 4th season.
Okay.
She even mentioned it.
So this is old. This is late in the
Was
show.
it 99
Is it-
when Futurama started?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's 2003 or 4 because I think
the
it's
very-
annual
at the very
for
least,
Matt
at the very
Groening
least.
shows.
at the very least. And that means this is at least 4 years into the show. We know it's science fiction and comedy.
No,
You're
she's
stupid. Your
arguing-
jokes are
she's
stupid. Your
arguing for,
explanations
like,
are stupid.
She's arguing for the fact that like because the Olympics are something that like increases the price of low income housing, like it's just impossible that it can happen for like another thousands of years. But it's like not true. If the Olympic Games is like held by a financially good standing country, then it's actually profiting. If it's done by some very small GDP country, then it's gonna have problems afterwards, like things that you can see in Brazil that like they had like a lot of those properties left unused, and even though like they had like a good income from that, it's just didn't really pay off that much. But it's really for like the Olympic Games themselves. Like I think like Japan, the current one in Japan is like minus. Like I think even like the interest towards the Olympic Games is like non-existent almost, because it's like half the viewerships from 4 years compared to 4 years.
I believe they're
I've
doing.
at least like read that like it was very low.
Yeah, I believe they're keeping everything in place because the Paralympics are coming up another week or two. I can't remember when.
Yes. Oh, it's
Oh
on.
yeah. Put trans women to the Paralympics. We do have a mental condition after all.
The trans 4 men or women relay mixed or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
What's
Let
disability?
the trans
2X chromosomes.
let the trans men and trans women compete.
mixed
That'll be
chromosome.
interesting.
The mixed chromosome relay.
We're all on testosterone in some way.
Everyone just souped up. It's like, whoa. We're all on something, folks.
son.
But we had a life of testosterone, giving us a physiological advantage.
Yeah.
And the trans men are on testosterone right now, beefing them up.
And then you have like
So
trans.
that might actually be
Then
interesting.
you have transhumanistic runners with like bionic legs or whatever. There's like they're
Adam
leaping.
Jess.
Yeah, that's another problem. The whole there are limitations on prosthetics because some are just too good to be used because they get you to higher speeds than humans. Than
God,
help.
all I can think about is augmentations.
Yeah.
I never asked for this.
And that's by the way a problem in the Paralympics where there are athletes who do chop off some of the limbs
Oh my god.
to get better prosthetics.
Only in Japan. Like
It's insane.
like someone with a half a Gundam suit just on their lower body just ripping up the track. Just
Yeah, but not only in Japan. That's a common problem in the Paralympics.
oh boy.
It's like their version of doping.
But I would love to have some mecha fights, like as like a real Olympic game.
The Mech Olympics. Yeah.
Mecha Olympics.
A bunch of guys in power armor just like doing pole vault or high jump or just like flying in the air.
Whose jump jets last the longest?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's
Double
gonna
jumping.
spike the viewership, definitely.
Stratosphere.
The quadruple parallel bars, they just keep flipping and flipping up and up, and it's great. Yeah, I love that. All right, Tyler Preston, Jesse holding that baseball bat right now reminds me of Mags Visaggio, and I'm terrified for that poor fellow who's near this individual. Mags Visaggio.
That's the voice actor for Bender, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
No. That's DiMaggio. Max Visaggio was the stupid social justice hack writer for Marvel, who did what was it? Spider-Gwen self-insert.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
I already forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's why I had to piece it together, and in my mind you could hear me fishing in that chest of dusted horrors.
Alrighty. Here's the Mechanist. Thanks for the $1.11 again. I always liked how Calculon used Boxbot as a weight in his hot air balloon and Boxspot's rapid beeping as he's thrown out. Also, everyone do the bender. Come on, dance with me. Oh yeah, come on. Okay.
Beep.
All right, let's go.
Lowering. Ridiculous. Totally science fiction. Oh, by the way, we're back because there was a nice old lady waiting to use the court, and I didn't want to show her up with my use of what I presume is a tennis ball. Look,
You're
I'm
not
a
funny.
post-operative trans woman. Knowing balls, not my strong suit.
You
Anyways,
post-op?
after a brief storyline
Did she
focusing
just-
on Jamaican
did-
character...
Wait, did Jessie just say she's post-op?
Yes?
What's wrong with your face?
There's an order to these things, and she thinks,
You go, okay, you went for genitals and boobs first and forgo your face. I'm calling autogynephile. You're a fetishist, Jessie. You don't know where priorities are. If you're so obsessed with the genitals and the boobs, you're fetishizing the female body. You want female body parts. You don't have gender dysphoria. Like fucking hell. Are you even on hormones? Because I mean, I am a mess because for 4 years I'm sleep deprived, and that's also why I'm not putting on makeup anymore because it just goes away.
I've
That's
seen,
just
post-op women, and they look like women. Like they actually have a very attractive.
You mean face?
Yeah, I know they look like they say you on a dating site or whatever, and you read the profile. It's like, really, you're a post-op? Holy crap, that's amazing. You look really damn good.
Yeah, and I'm very happy for those trans women, really. But they had facial surgery.
Oh,
you
yeah,
need
for sure.
that. You need that. I'm pretty sure Blair White has her videos from 2017, 2016 still on her channel. You can see how she looked before her hormone therapy and facial operation, and the differences are astonishing. Blair looks amazing, and I'm sorry, but Jessie doesn't even look like she's on hormones. I mean, and that's what I mean. I didn't have my facial surgery and all this other stuff because of this bloody PTSD shit. I can't do that until that shit is solved. But I have the hormones, and those made huge differences to my face, especially when I'm smiling. Because it changes around all where your body puts the fatty tissue. So I have nice cheeks now. Jessie is barren. It's horrible.
Okay.
I'm calling into question whether Jessie ever did have actual gender dysphoria at this point, because I gave Jessie the benefit of the doubt. But the more I listen to her, the less I believe that this just pisses me off. That explains why she believes in all this other crap about trans.
I don't think she's ever said the term gender dysphoria. I don't remember her talking about that at all.
I'm not surprised. Because the fetishists forgo the topic entirely and would love if it wasn't even a thing. And they try to brush us with the actual medical condition under the rug because our existence that they built their fan fiction about trans on, without us, they would have never come to the idea of trans. But since they are now the established mainstream of trans narrative, the dominant bullshit, they now have no need for us anymore and want to sweep us under the rug. They don't care. When they say trans lives matter and bullshit like that, they don't mean us. They explicitly don't mean us because we are a threat to their narrative. Because we, and gender dysphoria, the medical science behind it, is proof that being trans is not a choice and that it's a purely biological issue. And that it is solved by hormone replacement therapy. And that makes only sense post-puberty because if you did it before, you would deprive yourself of a very, very high chance of losing it naturally. Everything that is the hard science about trans is against everything social justice warriors want trans to be. And that is why we are their greatest enemy. And why biology and sexology is their greatest enemy.
All right, let's go.
Hermes, which, despite being only a minute long, has its own cornucopia of issues dealing with fat phobia and cultural stereotyping. It's time for the robot.
So we
Fat
have
phobia. What is about a fat joke is phobic? How is that phobic?
The Olympic Games.
How are you? How is that irrational fear of fat?
I've never seen a.
You're an idiot, Jesse. You don't even know how language works, just like your social justice retard friends.
I have seen people in the weightlifting who are husky, but they're not fat.
There's usually a lot of muscle beneath that.
Yeah,
big
they're
belly.
just big people. So, but they don't do like, whatever joking athletic exercise like limbo. So.
Yeah, what we see here with oh god, so long I watched this. Herman? No, what was his name? The bureaucrat, the Jamaican bureaucrat. The joke with him is just that he's out of shape, and his belly does the Homer Simpson thing, where it might knock off the limbo bar, because limbo is now an Olympic discipline.
Well, quite honestly, I hope that for Jessie's sake that she's not going to rewatch anything of the older Simpson episodes, because oh boy, she's gotta lose her nerve.
Oh yeah, like the scene where Dr. Hibbert flaps Homer's belly to look how long it takes to stop wobbling.
This is so fat phobic.
Jesse, you need some fat in your face to actually look like a woman.
No, I don't think anything can save that. Like, no.
Well, hormone therapy might be a
Shovel
start.
might be.
All right.
I don't know if a shovel helps.
Bot bending of. Here we
Hermes,
learn that there
thank
are
you.
two types of robots: manbots and fembots. Of course, because even the robots have to have the gender binary. But here we learned that manbots are strong and tough, able to crush and bend even the unbendable. Whereas the fembots, the fembot bending competition, not so much.
Yeah, because you know why, Jesse? You know why? Because they were built like that. They were actually designed. Robots are not biological creatures. They were actually designed. Not necessarily intelligently, like humans, where if there's intelligent design out there, humans are certainly not it. That's if you ask any physiotherapist, because they have to study anatomy, they will laugh at the idea, because knees, the lower back, that one weird muscle around your hip somewhere, around your hip or thigh, that I forgot the name of, that does absolutely nothing. It's just there. There's no way. There's not even a way you can train it. It's just there and it's useless. It's like the appendix of muscles, and there's of course the appendix. But these are robots. They were built with specific jobs in mind. When you have robots that were specifically built to bend things, it is very likely that robots that weren't built to bend things can't bend things well. And the fembots were certainly not built to bend things. So what they do is coat hangers instead of unbendable bars.
Here is
why is this a problem for you?
Here's the Mechanist. Thanks for another $1.11. I forgot that this episode and the Adonis Barbados Slim. His muscle just moves on their own. That's another joke I gladly ripped off. Also, you can be the most fit guy in the world and you still wouldn't beat Barbados Slim. Okay.
That's true. That is true. No wonder Hermes' wife had an eye for him.
Okay.
Now, comedy of this era, especially for sitcoms and even more especially for Futurama just as a general rule, loved to lean into gender stereotypes, especially for women.
Men, let's get hunting. The women folk can cook what we catch.
That episode was amazing because it showed that men and women are both idiots. That that episode was not about sex stereotypes. Jesse, are you listening? Biology! Does that go into your head? It's biology. It's biological differences between male and female bodies. You have about up to 40% more muscle mass on your bloody body than the average woman. Without even trying. In this episode here, and this is from the bonus season that Groening got to make, you have an alien that gets pissed about the stranded humans that crash landed on his planet of bickering all the time, so he switched everyone's sexes. Not genders, sexes. They're still the same people in their heads, but every man is now a woman, every woman is now a man. And they learn to see things from the other side. From the other, in regards to biological capabilities. And that means the positives and the negatives. Like hormones, holy shit, man. And at the end of this episode, they're wiser for it. That's the lesson from it. And I don't need to spell it out. It just went through the troubles of the other sex. Something they could never really, they could maybe rationally imagine, but never experience. Because that's simply not possible. This is an amazing episode. If you haven't watched this season, the 5th season of Futurama, do it. This is an episode that does sex swapping right. It explores it the right way. It's not preaching. It's great. Okay. It's actual science fiction because science fiction explores a concept, an idea, a philosophy, a technology without judgment. And that is what this episode is doing.
Something we'll be talking a little bit more about later on in this video. But specifically for here, within the concept of sports, we can already see this idea of women being weak and flimsy, barely able to bend a coat hanger, despite being, Olympic-level athletes. And also,
they're robots.
Robots. But these jokes are leaning into this sexist stereotype that is pervasive throughout our culture today, that women, even the strongest of women, even Olympic-level athletes, are simply no match for the strength of the average male.
Yes.
Yes, Jesse, that is true. Women in sports, the high-level athletes admit that. Put their records and their strengths and their capabilities, their speeds, against the men. And the women will be several dozen points lower than the men. There will be one or two exceptional women that are further higher up, but they will never make it to gold against men. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, there could be some arguments for the women's diving, the high dive, just because you need a certain body type that's very light and flexible. Oh, yeah. And, you can make certain arguments, but there's also certain acrobatic behaviors that women can't compete in, like the suspended rings. I can't remember what the event is called, or the high bar. There is no female event for that. They just don't have one.
They don't have the arm strength.
They also.
That's why I can do pull-ups. If I had a full female body, we went through female puberty and everything, I couldn't do pull-ups as easily or at all.
Plus, men do not have parallel bars. We only have the one parallel bar. So there are specific reasons for this. So. Same with ballerinas. The training for that is different for men and women for obvious reasons. So this is just how it's been for hundreds of years.
Yeah, and there was this. Sorry, I'm bad with names, especially in sports. This high-level female tennis player, and she was asked how she would do against men. She said she would just lose. She would if they combined the the rosters of men and women, she would probably be at 200th place. When for the women, she excels. And this is also why in tennis, you do mixed. There are mixed matches where you have men and women against man and woman, but you never have solo man versus woman, because the women are slower and weaker. Their balls cannot go as fast as the men's.
Yeah, they also only have the balance beam, whereas men don't. But men do have the pommel horse because it's upper body strength.
Yeah.
So there's lots of. Wait, do they have the pommel horse? I'm trying to remember. I think they do.
I don't know. Chat says the tennis player was Serena Williams. That I'm referencing. And and she said when she gets the ball, the tennis ball, served by a man, it's like her arms are being crushed and pulled back. Like she can barely play the ball back. There is so much more strength behind that, and Ronda Rousey, I think, talked about it as well. And then we have this amazing story about that female soccer team that was like a top tier female soccer team, and they lost against 14-year-old boys because the boys were playing much harder and with much more fervor, much more adrenaline, if you will. Like, what is that? You're the leading female soccer team, and you lose against 14-year-old boys who barely went into puberty? And that's the difference of hormones for you.
Okay, here's Taker610. Thank you for the 2. Humanoid robots, I feel, would unavoidably be gendered. You just know it. Even in Detroit, Become Human, you see very clearly gendered robots, kind of like how the world of cyberpunk is as well. Well, we've seen a lot of these experiments happening. It was at the Institute in Chicago, or which was it? They're making all these crazy robots that are doing bipedal physical feats. We have the dog robots that came out first, and then we saw a bunch of walking, running, and backflips from the bipedals. So the next thing is to have proper text-to-speech, to have proper facial muscles, to have them look like people. I think the Japanese have been working on that for years and years. And it's just it's amazing stuff. Like, this is really cool stuff. And eventually, you're going to want to give these characters or these machines a character of some sort. And it wouldn't be genderless. It would be gender-filled. Yeah. So it would make people... You don't want to be uncomfortable in a robot. You don't want that uncanny valley of, I know you're not real, and you look very weird. I want an actual...
We'll get
facial appearance of a man or a woman.
Yeah, we'll get all the waifu personalities.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe
with all the HoloLive characters too.
Japan would go nuts with that. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Fembot? Methinks a clever manbot, suitably disguised, might win those events.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty damn sure that most Olympic-level women athletes could kick literally all of our butts in whatever sport they wanted to, no matter what gender you are. Sorry already, this setup is...
No. Why are you... Okay, Jesse, in another video, this is important. In another video, you insisted upon the clear or defined the differences between sex and gender. Sex being biological, gender being the head stuff. That's how you want to play it. So why are you now conflating everything as gender when you're talking about sex? You fucking liar. You ideological newspeak mongrel. Gender, the head stuff, does not matter. What matters is your physiological capability, your physiology. That matters, and that is what we call sex. As you are aware.
Here's Taker610. The oil hormone equivalency is pretty funny. Oh, so he's talking about male robots having more oil, or certain.
I think they have different oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how he does the transitioning too, by changing the oil. Because there was a doping test coming up because Bender was being too good. and then he went further and further down the rabbit hole of transitioning into a fembot.
Oh.
To the point where I think he got into a room with Calculon, and then noticed he has feelings for Calculon, and then notices that he's going too far. He's going too far. He needs to stop this for his own dignity, because he and the all right, and the equivalent to the genital surgery is he has to cut off his antenna. It's like and he keeps it in a box or something, and it's just and then hopes that he can reattach it in the end, because he made this giant mistake, and it's really great. It's really great.
Okay.
Mixing with sexist stereotypes before we even get into transgender issues. But as the episode continues, that mischievous scamp Bender decides he wants to cheat his way into winning the Olympic Games by pretending to be a woman and handily defeating even the best women athletes with his average male strength.
Yeah, no, Bender doesn't just have average male strength for a robot. Especially in the bending competition, Bender is not just an average male robot who bends better than the females because he has more strength in his frame. He is a bending specialist. He's a bending robot. That's why his name is Bender Bending Rodriguez. Bending is his middle name. Bender is his first name. What the fuck do you want? He is a bending machine. Of course you will outclass everyone.
My name is Coilette, and I'm from, Rabonia. Coilette's a chick's name.
Yes, but Rabonia sounds like something somebody made up on the spot.
Ever been beaten up by a guy dressed like a chick?
Yeah.
So, this episode, and there is a lot to break down here. Firstly, this idea of a man pretending to be a woman to gain access to women's spaces is quite literally the textbook transphobic narrative pushed by...
It's not transphobic, and it's not being pushed. It is what really is happening. You are in denial of reality because you cannot conceive of the idea that there might be someone exploiting a medical condition for personal gain, which is happening in so many other areas of life. Münchhausen syndrome is a real thing, Jesse. And as I mentioned before with the Paralympics, some of those practices being done there, you could also classify as that. Because there are, as I said, some athletes who deliberately chop off more limbs than they need to, or when they have to have something amputated, that they let more being amputated so they can have the stronger prosthetic for it. Jesse, this is a normal thing humans do. Humans are not these happy, always honest people. That's not what our species is. I'm frustrated by it too. But to think that just because someone claims to be trans makes that person infallible and always honest and never a liar, never a grifter, is delusional. Because, and you personally have to believe that it's impossible for them to lie, because then you would need to be open to the idea that people are claiming to be trans while not being trans to begin with. And maybe, because I've seen these odd signs about you, that you are of that mindset deliberately in order to cope with your own whatever you're doing.
Anti-transgender groups like TERFs or the United States Republican Party. It's this transphobic idea
You're an
that
idiot.
trans people's whole identity is not built upon...
Jesse, did you know that there were trans women supporting Trump? Probably not.
way.
trying to exist ourselves for ourselves and for our own happiness in a means in and of itself, but that we're just pretending to be trans in order to play a trick on others for our gain. They try to push this idea that trans women are men trying to sneak into women's bathrooms to assault women by putting on the...
Oh yeah, you mean
There
like
are cases
like
for that, but like sadly,
yeah, you mean like
more
Jessica
about, like,
Yaniv?
children.
You mean like Jessica Yaniv, who wanted kids what was that? Kids. I don't know if Yennev wanted them to be naked, but a kids swimming event in his backyard with no parents allowed. Some event like that. Like, Yennev is a predator. Yennev is claiming to be trans in order to commit crimes. Is exploiting that. And we are going through internet history again with the whole Christian thing, who is probably not trans at all, but very, very confused. Some people are confused, some people are active, horrible predators. Both are not trans. There are people who use every excuse they can get in order to get to their goal. Whether that is a gold medal, or whether that is the chance of raping someone. If you deny that, the only thing you are doing is protecting those predators. Then they will commit crimes, and that will fall back negatively on you. I do not protect those predators. I call them out for what they are. Fakers. Why are you protecting them, Jesse? Why are you so keen on this narrative that just because you claim to be trans, you must be allowed to be with the women all the time, even if it's completely unfair? You talk about justice all the time with your weird, horrible modifier of social justice, or gender justice probably at this point. I don't see much justice going on here because it ends in unfairness. You are not a fair player, Jesse. You want an unfair playing field where you have the upper hand, and that's why you want it. If this wouldn't give people the upper hand, you wouldn't care about it.
All right, let's go.
I need a drink.
Of a woman. And the same too is very much said for trans women in women's sports. That trans women are just men who failed to be good at sports and so chose to compete in women's sports in order to win medals, in order to help their career. For example, when I did my earlier video about
and that man is so bad he even failed at the women's sports.
I got a ton of people in the comments who mentioned that, well, Laura never won competitions until she transitioned, and then often alluded to or even outright claimed that she transitioned in order to further her career. This narrative around trans women in sports even comes up when trans women aren't even competing against women at all, such as with trans powerlifter Jenna Marie Kroc.
What the fuck was that just now?
So
this is Blair. That's all right.
Let's go back.
That she transitioned in order to further her career. This narrative around trans women in sports even comes up when trans women aren't even competing against women at all, such as with trans.
What the fuck? I mean, here you see someone. This person is likely on hormone, but also had facial surgery.
Wow.
But this body, if you have gender dysphoria, you couldn't stand having this body. The face looks fine, but if you have gender dysphoria, you couldn't live having that body. It would disgust you.
You know, it's more disturbing that there's like a Bernie Sanders action figure in the background. I'm like, what the hell is this? Where the hell am I? Let me out.
The Young Turks, that's where you are.
Oh, of course.
Oh, right, yeah, it's the Young Turks. Like, this is, I'm sorry. No trans woman wants to look like this. This is insane. And I find it hard to believe that there are so many trans women in weightlifting. I know there are some gender dysphorics who are in denial of their condition and because of that go into trying to go into hypermasculinity and therefore go into weightlifting. Yes. But once they accept their condition and they usually realize that what they've done to their bodies, like this here, makes a transition nigh impossible, and that crushes them. So they tend to remain in cognitive dissonance, and just keep either doubling down or go into suicide. That's a really sad thing. I know of one such case in Frankfurt, or at least I know of it by by one hop. I haven't heard for years. I've not spoken with the person in the middle for years, so I don't know how that one's doing. But this is just shit. This is just shit. I'm not buying this. This is bullshit. I don't believe this person has ever had gender dysphoria. Sorry. I mean, at least the face has style.
Who conservative political commentator and YouTuber Blair White falsely claimed in a video had transitioned and then competed against cisgender women, which Croc had not done. And this type of narrative often leads to direct harassment of trans people, as we clearly see with both Jen Marie Croc, who received a ton of harassments after Blair White's horribly done video, and with all the
and your horribly done videos about science that are full of shit. So, assuming Blair made a mistake, okay, happens. When are you ever going to correct your lies? I just see you doubling down, but yeah, go on.
Protest rhetoric and harassment leveled at Laurel Hubbard. Now, obviously, this narrative is untrue. Trans women are women and don't transition in order to...
No, they're not. No, we are not women. Pisses me off just as much. But that's simply the truth of it. If we were women, we wouldn't have a fucking problem, you fucking idiot. If you need to cope so much to delude yourself that much, I don't think anyone can help you. You know, we're not women. We don't have uteruses. We don't have ovaries. We are not producing our hormones in the right places. We're not producing estrogen. And even while we have the normal physiology without doing anything, you know what? The differences between male and female bodies is so extreme that our endocrine systems don't even work the same. So, biologically male bodies do not produce estrogen. Female bodies do not produce testosterone. What they do, because producing hormones is very energy intensive, what both bodies do is take their own sex hormone and slightly modifying it into an analog of the other hormone, of the other sex hormone, so that it can dock onto the receptors for the other sex hormone. And they're not doing this in the same organs. The male body takes a testosterone molecule, puts it through the adrenal gland with the help of some cholesterol, and creates an estrogen analog. The female body does this in the kidney, or more specifically, I don't know the English term, the little cap that's on the kidney. In German, we call it the next to kidney. Those are completely different organs where that happens, Jesse. Male and female bodies are not the same. If trans women were women, we wouldn't have a problem. But we still have problems. We can't reproduce. So maybe you not, because you're an autogynephile, after all. But I know I can never fulfill that. And maybe in 200, 500, 1,000 years' time, we won't have the technology for that. I cannot have children like a woman, but I have this drive. That's just there. I know I will never be able to fulfill that, and I have to accept that. And no level of coping will ever change that. I know there are very self-deluding people out there who are upset, and this is another thing. This is another thing I think by which you can distinguish between real trans women, especially the trans women, and autogynephiles, the fetishists, because the fetishists are all about getting sexually aroused with the imagination of having female body parts and bodily functions, one of which is having a period. If you ask any woman whether she likes having a period, she will ask, hell no. And I am sane enough that I understand, the drive to have children, I know this sounds horrible with this voice, and pregnancy that's just there, but not in the fetishistic way, but in this motherly, I want kids way. And I understand that having a period, no, I don't want that. I don't want monthly hormone weirdness and pains and bleeding. But who would want that? But the fetishists want that, and some of them are so deluded they will tell you that, like in the South Park episode, by the way, that bleeding out of they call bleeding out of their ass their period. It's insane. These are insane people. People with gender who just have gender dysphoria and not this fetishistic crap. They're not obsessed with having periods. Like if you think that is what makes you a woman, most women don't want that. And they're fine with having their reproductive organs, but that is the one thing almost no woman wants.
It's kind of like saying whether or not a chrysalis or a cocoon is a butterfly. It's like, no, it's not. It's getting there. It's trying to become a butterfly. So
you could say we're stuck. All technology allows us is to get to the chrysalis stage.
Yeah. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. So if we get Star Trek tech, it's all irrelevant. That's why I keep saying trans is not an issue in Star Trek, because they have the technology to just snap that away. Like they change species for covert operations for their spies, with genetic treatments and everything. And same with Mass Effect is so far developed that I would also assume that is a solved issue, which is why it made no sense to me with this idiotic character in Andromeda. And that goes for most science fiction. The one with the high technology stuff, especially in regards to biotechnology.
Yeah, these Solarians could clone just about anything and make all kinds of species, but wasn't really addressed too often.
Yeah, and because the trans issue is really not something to really address most of the time. Because it's... when you can do it with species, then the sex thing is irrelevant. That's just part of the way.
Okay.
To win competitions, but transition for their own mental health and well-being, completely outside of the concerns of sports. They're just people who are trans, and it's irrelevant to them playing sports. But they also are people who want to compete in sports for the same reasons that anyone else wants to compete in sports.
Yes, and they should be disqualified.
Yeah. Oh, and everything else, what everyone else competes in sports for? You mean winning? Some people cheat to win. We know that. The Tour de France lost all its appeal when it came out how much doping is going on there. Because people lose interest when they learn that everyone's just cheating. And it's just all about who's cheating better. When sport becomes that, it stops being sport. Then the real competition is just who can cheat the best. And this abuse of trans, the topic, the condition, is one such way to cheat, Jesse. Some people are scrupulous. Is that a word?
Scruples, yes. Well, that is a word.
Yes. And that just doesn't want to get into your head, because in your head, everyone who's trans is a paragon. Which is when I would put together that you are, by George Orwell's definition, a nationalist for trans ideology. Your definition of trans can never do wrong, can never do harm, can never have ulterior motives, can never be predatory, can never be abusive. You are a fanatic, you are insane, you are an apologist, and you're really bad at it. And I don't think, maybe you can't be better at it, because that's just not possible, because the mental gymnastics would break anyone's brain.
All right.
Sports. Episode though, Bender does handily win the Olympic Games against the women. Again, leaning into this trope that quote-unquote biological men, or robotic men in this case, even non-athletic ones, are always stronger than women. As I said, that's just patently untrue and sexist. Perhaps...
Give me the counterexample.
How is it sexist? What are you talking about?
Look at the data, you bloody anti-science idiot! What is it with you fucking communists and religious people that you always deny factual data because it doesn't feel good? It doesn't make you feel good because it tests your faith. It tests your stupid ideology that makes millions of people die of starvation and more and worse things than that.
I can't believe she's actually saying men are not stronger than women. That is bizarre.
You have to believe that because in her ideology, there are no biological differences between men and women. But then, Jessie, please answer me. Please explain to me how you can even transition when there are no biological differences between the sexes. If everything's just a stereotype, how can we transition from A to B? If there are female penises and male breasts, like what is going on? You're insane. Or the ideology has made you insane.
Perhaps the strongest male bodybuilder could beat the strongest female bodybuilder.
Oh no, they would. They would dominate. They would completely destroy them. There's the numbers are very clear. The deadlift competition is amazing. Okay.
It's not even. Jessie, it's not even in the same stadium. It's not even in the same town or country. That's how far apart the maximum performances of men and women are. And we're solely talking about strength, endurance, speed. That's the main categories we're talking about in this. Not about, do you have a more ergonomic body in order to make the smallest splash in jumping from the tower into the water. So that's probably where women can compete.
So the male deadlift weight is 501 kilogram. That's the record, or 1,000.
Half a ton.
Yeah, 104.5 pounds. The female deadlift, I think, is 310 kilograms, or 683 pounds.
That's just over half.
Yeah. It's like there's a huge difference in the deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I don't know if that's the world record or the Olympic record, but that's like just standard weight. There's strongman competitions and all these other crazy competitions that men do insane things like drag trucks and lift all these boulders and stuff. I don't know if women are in those. I've never seen women compete. Maybe they do, but they wouldn't come close to the men. So,
Jessie, give us some data. Citation needed. Jessie, citation needed.
All right, let's go.
But that's true across all sports. For example, American women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe
Oh, this is the asshole.
on the men's
Quinn.
team when she was younger and still handily beat all the guys. But this idea also
Was that Quinn? Let me go back.
stronger than women. As I said, that's for example, American women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe
Oh, that's American. Okay, sorry, I was talking about Rebecca Quinn. My apologies.
often played on the men's team when she was younger and still handily beat all the guys.
When she was younger, that's great.
Okay,
But this
okay.
idea
Wait. So is this a trans woman or a trans man?
I don't know.
Because I'm.
It's trans man, but like it's supposedly when he was younger. So
Okay, so before this was a girl, or what?
yes.
I need some clarification. This shit is confusing me, for fuck's sake.
But very sneaky way of like putting that information there.
Yeah. So
It's
what
not
was the name?
clarified, how old was she exactly when she was
I
successful?
just need this in text before me. What's the name of this person?
Yeah, let's rewind that.
always stronger than women. As I said, that's just patently untrue and sexist. Perhaps the strongest male bodybuilder could beat the strongest female bodybuilder, but that's not true across all sports. For example, American women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe often
Megan Rapinoe.
Megan. Oh God, that name is completely different. In written. Okay. Probably Wikipedia's probably useless because they just change all the things. Rapino. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah.
So
We know of the Ballon
she was a woman, and then she transitioned to
male.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Activist. Yeah, I remember that. And full of shit as far as I could tell. Yeah, if she was playing hard as a girl, cool. Okay. Good for her.
Yeah, I have a neighbor who she's very good at soccer. She's older than me, but her ball control, like her handling and dribbling, is amazing. Like you just give her a ball with any pair of shoes, and she is like balancing that thing and bouncing it in the air. It's amazing. But she is not strong at all. She is very thin, and I don't know how her endurance is these days, but I can't see her playing soccer anymore. But ball control skills, sure, you could teach someone all kinds of skills in a sport. It doesn't mean that in a team sport like soccer, you're going to do well. So,
but I can't imagine like any of these women like competing against like Messi or Ronaldo.
No.
Really? Like,
no.
What are they gonna do?
Maybe the teams she was in as a kid were just shit.
There's also like a time when like growing up and females have like a height advantage for like a year before like growth spurt. So like, cause like she didn't specify like what age was she at, but they might be like equal with boys. But it's just this is like so uninformative. It's just amazing. Like, she's even like bragging about her other video, which is probably just as uninformed about.
So in the thing. At least in the Wikipedia thing, there's no mention of her being trans. She's just been an ambassador for Athlete Ally, a non-profit organization that focuses on ending homophobia and transphobia in sports. So I have no fucking clue. So assuming she's still playing in the women's teams, I suppose. Is that right?
Don't know. Anyway, here's...
So then she's just a woman. So fuck that.
Here's the Mechanist for $1.11. Thank you. So the FEV virus is real. Soon we shall live in the world of Fallout, and it shall face the true might of the Mechanist. The pink-haired bitch is a bitch, and she got her lack of ass kicked recently at the games on the women's team. Yeah, this was, I don't know, if did Canada beat the Americans, or was it the Swedes? I can't remember who beat who, because I didn't watch it. So, but, yeah. Soccer. I don't care if it's women's or men's or trans, whatever. It's not for me.
Okay. So I guess she's just gay and that's it.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I doubt she as an adult she'd compete with men.
Yeah, no. Soccer is a team sport. You could have Ronaldo and all these great players. If you have one kink in your defense, you're dead. You lose. So it's a very, very disciplined sport. And soccer is a lot of cardio, a lot of mesomorphic body types. Women can be mesomorphic. And it's okay.
Yeah, and Jessie just admitted that in weightlifting, men could excel.
No, they do. We know that.
Which they do by a long shot. That would be admittance for sex differences, Jessie. And the thing with the soccer thing, well, youth is different. Maybe she was ahead of the boys in development. Could also be the case. Like with youth, there are so many factors that we don't know about.
I mean, there are lots of people I remember growing up that were just into soccer from an early age.
Yeah, I mean, when in fifth grade we got all the village kids in, and there was one girl who was already, I think, 175 or something in centimeters. Like she was towering all the boys and all the other girls, of course, too. Because the boys were like at 150 or 160 at the time. If she was a head taller than the tallest boys at the time. So that would be a huge advantage in sports.
All right.
When she was younger and handily beat all the guys. But this idea also gets played out with trans people in specific, with this idea that by having gone through a male puberty, or because as many people try to transphobically say about us that we're just men, that we're somehow inherently stronger than
Yes, we
cisgender
are.
women and are unbeatable because of this quote-unquote unfair advantage. Now, first and
Yeah, it is an unfair advantage, you fucking prick.
Muscle density. Bone
Yeah,
density also.
go to a random pub and do arm wrestling with the women and tell me how often you win. The one time you may come into trouble is with a young mother, because young mothers tend to carry their kids on their arm a lot of the time, and that develops a lot of muscle. That's why young mothers often have very thick dominant arms, like where they carry the kid around, and then get very strong. What is this, biceps?
I mean,
That's how you can tell a woman being a young mother, even if she doesn't have a child with herself.
yeah,
with
even
her.
the only sport I can think of in the Olympics, which is men and women, is the mixed relay, and no one takes that seriously. It's 100 meter each. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever, go crazy.
Do your thing.
If you did 400 meter relay, that'd be a different story, because then you'd see males just dominate everyone. So I don't know why they actually do men actually have 400 meter relay? I don't even think they do.
I don't know. I'm not into that stuff.
No, I didn't even know there was 400 relay till this year while I watched the women do it, and I was like, wow, that's weird. I've never seen that before. So because I don't watch the women, but that was the only thing on at the time, and Tokyo is whatever crazy time difference. So I was like, all right, it's the evening there, or it's the morning there, and I'm watching it at 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Never heard of it. And they cut the lanes. It's weird. After a certain point, you cut the lanes. You just start running in the inside lane, then you go back to your outside lane to transition the baton. I was like, wow, that's bizarre.
Oh, so Chad is relatively sure now that the soccer player with the purple hair is just a lesbian.
Yeah.
And there's something of note to say here. There are different main phenotypes of lesbians, I would say. And one of them is because in all kinds, in all these cases, you have during the prenatal phase, you have a testosterone high during some developmental stages. That is usually what affects brain development and creates homosexuality. And these types of lesbians have generally higher testosterone levels than normal women. That is of note. That is not true for all lesbians postnatally, but for this specific type, that is true postnatally. They have higher testosterone levels, and this lesbian looks a lot like she has a lot of natural testosterone in her body. And that might help her excel not just against other women, but even against some boys, especially when that happens during puberty.
Right.
So we see her she's very flat, she has a very angular face. Like, this is a woman on testosterone.
Or more testosterone than the average woman. And it would be interesting.
Definitely.
It would be interesting to count the nanograms.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure she's way above 50.
Yeah.
And a woman needs much less testosterone in order to have effects than a man. Because it's a balancing act. It's like if you have a woman with CAIS, that is complete androgen immunity syndrome. That is where their bodies are immune to testosterone. Nothing docks at their testosterone receptors. That comes with health detriments, because also even the female body needs some testosterone. That's why they produce the testosterone analog. But these bodies are immune against that. And the way that manifests is that their testosterone levels are the healthy testosterone levels for a woman are between 80 and 120 units the ones we have in Germany, and I think that would be, what is it, 800 to 1200 for you, I think. And the ones with complete androgen immunity syndrome are on less than half of that. They're usually around 50 to beneath 60, so 500 to 600 estrogen. Or is it 1,000? I'm sorry, I have to translate because our countries just put the comma in a different place. But yeah, those women need not even half of the estrogen for the same effect, and because in a healthy female body, the testosterone and the estrogen are competing for each other. Like they accidentally dock at the wrong thing once in a while, then you have this whole process of having to fuel the analog system. It's really complicated. And I can't explain to you every detail of it because I'm not an endocrinologist. And even an endocrinologist might need to specialize in those parts. Lots of endocrinology is black magic to us still. There are probably 20,000 papers that can still be written on endocrinology alone at this point. We don't really know what we're doing here. And with this whole transitioning thing. That is why this is a very careful thing where we just twist two knobs, like, okay, estrogen up and testosterone down, and hope nothing goes wrong. While there are a lot of negative side effects, like higher levels of osteoporosis, we have I think 8 to 14 times higher chance for breast cancer than normal women, because the tissue is growing later in life. That's one reason for it. And so many other things. And it's why the whole idea of hormone blockers for children in puberty is just pure insanity. That's messing not just the endocrine system, that is messing up the whole process of puberty. That does not magically halt and wait for you until you continue it, because there's a maximum time lock on it, and what hasn't developed until then will not develop. Like the later on in your life you start hormone therapy, the less effect it will have on your body. It may correct your brain, but bodily effects you won't have. So that's why if I had gone past 30 to start hormone therapy stuff, I wouldn't have done it. I would have tried to just swallow down the dysphoria and just try to roll with it, and probably not have made it, but I would have tried to have a normal life the other way with the constant pain. And some people do that, and they're lucky. But that's another topic. That's another topic.
So I don't know how long we're going to keep going because everything she's saying is getting stupid.
Wrong.
Yeah. So. Anyway, at least
too opinionated, really. It's just like she doesn't explain scientifically, even though like she claims to be that they are anti-science.
It's just propagandic drivel.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
The anti-scientist is Jessie here.
Yes.
All right.
Foremost, I think that certain folks make a big deal about fairness for women in women's sports when it comes to trans women, but never when it comes to any other topics. I mean, is it fair?
Wait. So we want fairness for women because we want them to compete evenly, and that's bad?
No.
Yeah, because it includes the physically strong. Because it excludes the physically stronger trans women. And if you're so pathetic, a man, that even after faking your way into women's sports and you still fail, just look for another hobby, gardening or whatever. Try gardening.
Okay.
Many women less access to equipment and resources in all sports across the board, professional or not, just because they're women. Or the fact that most professional women athletes get less pay than their male counterparts, even in similar leagues.
Okay,
Gee,
no,
I
no,
wonder why.
you're throwing together completely different problems now. That's irrelevant. The other problems of women in sports are irrelevant because you are adding another problem to them. You're trying, because what you're trying to build up here is that there are already so many unfair things for women in sports that adding this one doesn't matter. That there's no other way. Surprise me of going to any other place with this argument.
Okay, so in case you don't know why men get paid more than women in men's and women's sports, it's because there's more sponsors, there's more competition, it's more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Women do not
There's
have
also more investment in men's
Well, yeah, exactly. That's because it's more competitive. People put more money into it. They put better stakes, better standards they expect from their athletes. With women, it's like, okay, there are definitely sponsorships and deals cut, but not as many as men for obvious reasons.
Yeah. More men and women are watching male sports than female sports. Both sexes watch more of the male sports because it is more interesting. There are higher stakes. It's faster. It's anything. It's there's more action to it. Like if you play your action movie on half speed, it's not that interesting anymore, is it?
All right, that's not even an argument. I don't know why she threw that in here, but let's just keep going.
Because they make everything about something else, that women are just getting paid less because of sexism.
Yeah, whatever.
These people that are talking about fairness in women's sports when it comes to trans people aren't really talking about any of those other issues when it comes to fairness for women in women's sports, even though they're all still important.
Because the other issues are other issues, you fucking asshole.
What a dumb thing to say. This is so dumb.
See, that's what I said.
Here's this other issue completely unrelated to what we're talking about. It's like, thank you, Jesse. Can you focus, please?
That's all the other issues nobody addresses. And that's why addressing this issue would be wrong. That's your argument, Jesse.
This is like a scatterbrain writing an essay and just suddenly going off topic and just rambling on about something.
It's just fucking disingenuous. It's how little children argue.
And
you're not giving these other things, so you shouldn't care about what I do wrong.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
In the game for women, trans or not. It's almost as if this idea of fairness for women in women's sports only becomes a talking point when it's able to be wielded against trans people.
You are insane and smug. Look at this. Look at this.
Like transphobia. Yes.
Look at the smug expression. No, Jesse, it's not about being against trans women. You have never been part of a fair competition in your life, I bet you. You have never been, and you have never been at the bad end of a cheater in a competition. Because that's what this is. And the thought is escaping me. Oh, right. And this is where social justice shows its true face. Because it's not about justice. Justice is about fairness. And Jesse here argues around three corners that fairness is when women are treated more unfairly because they're already treated unfairly. And Jesse says that's a good thing because it would benefit Jesse.
Well, she's like playing her victim card. Supposedly like trying to do that, but it's just it's like,
and this is where you can this is where you can say that trans activists who are most of the time not gender dysphorics but fetishists or other things are the actual misogynists because they look down on women. The women have to accept me and they have no say in that. So every life experience, every lived experience matters unless it stands in your way, Jesse. That's the true face of social justice. That's why social justice is a perversion of justice. And that's the ugly monster you try to sell us with a sugarcoat. And that is why, in this case, I as a trans woman, stuck here, by the way, because of social justice warriors in mid-transition, thank you, I am with the TERFs on this one topic. Because the TERFs have a point. And that's a biological one. And you can't argue that away, not with all your mental gymnastics. That is not an Olympic discipline, by the way.
Okay. I think we should go for another few minutes. This is getting off topic, and she's just virtue signaling every other moment she gets. So I'd say 2 minutes at least. Let's go with 2. Okay.
Still have an hour
Kind of
to
interesting
fill.
that. But also, even on top of that, isn't it also kind of the point of sports that just there is an inherent unfairness?
What?
No.
No? What the fuck is wrong with you,
The
asshole?
point of sports is that like you bring the best of yourself and you
is that?
follow the rules. Like you're not going to cheat. And like fact that like somebody is with biologically the other sex, it's kind of like going against that. If you can't see that and you just think that like, oh, this is not socially acceptable, like no, these are like very solid rules that have been there for over a century. Like, even longer if we like consider like the Greek Olympic Games, which was primarily just male.
Sports is all about fairness. Is Jessie trying to make a joke here? Because I don't think so. And that the body language says Jessie is aware she's making up shit right now. And like, so it's okay to be unfair if it benefits you. That's just what I was criticizing. And you're turning that into an argument for your side? You are insane. You are clearly insane. And I'm sorry. I am, with every other sentence you utter, I believe less and less that you are actually trans. No matter what you do to your body. And you're not doing the right things to your body. Wow. This is like the last 2 minutes of other videos. And this is just the first third of it. My God.
All right.
That some virtue of their body just being stronger, better, faster, harder, whatever word you want to use, that is going to be better. That's kind of like the whole point of competition. But
No, just okay.
No.
Yeah, we've said this before. This
my
is so
God.
dumb. This is. I can't believe she's trying to justify, because I am a trans woman and there are trans women in the Olympics. The whole spirit of Olympics is to compete against each other in a fair and balanced way. It's like, yes, Jessie, but they're not fair and balanced when you're not a woman.
Yeah, because the fairness in sports, and this is, by the way, something that martial artists complain about a lot, that the sportification of martial arts took a lot out of the martial arts because it becomes just a dance for points along the current rule set, instead of learning the actual art for its purpose. That's a different topic. In general, sports is about making up rules to have a fair competition. You can throw all men and women into the same sport. No problem. You can do that. And we will see the hard data then. I mean, technically we already can with like the speeds of men and women, with how much they can weight lift and so on. The thing is, the differences in performance, in maximum performance and in average performance of male and female athletes are so different that it is simply pointless to throw them together, because the women will just go under. In order for us to see how good women can be, they have to compete against each other in their own set of categories. And throwing trans women in that distorts all of that.
She's using
because we have lifelong doping.
She's using I would say it's already a misuse of logic, but because the semantics of woman is trans woman to her, it's like, well, because they're women, they should be fine. It's like, well, I could say I am a woman and pass some, health check or whatever, get fit and, get skilled in whatever in certain event, and probably dominate a bunch of women in whatever event.
Yeah. Yeah, because your current testosterone levels say nothing about your physiology.
Because I said
Mine
I was a
are
woman. Because the checks.
My testosterone levels are on female levels. I will still excel against most women, even untrained.
Oh boy.
Not against the not against the high competitors.
Yeah.
For that I would need to train, but I would probably have a good chance at putting on a hard fight for them.
All right.
And that's the unfair part,
She is,
Jesse. It is simply a truth that we have been on lifelong doping, and just being off testosterone doesn't make the muscle mass go away.
Yeah. She is really going off the rails here. I'll give it one more minute because it's just waste of time.
And further, trans women in sports are not unbeatable by cisgender women. In fact, they're very often beatable. For example, just using Laurel Hubbard, she came in 6th place in the weightlifting world championships in 2019.
Because this is a fucking loser.
5 cis women. 5 cis
Look
women
at these
above her.
arms.
And on top of that, sure, you hear
Honestly, I don't think this person has even ever trained hard, because there is no muscle mass on those arms.
The other thing is that like 6th out of all the women around the world, that's still high place.
Yeah, and this person does not look like there was any effort in training put in. Like, this is just an average guy. Which would explain the
placement. It would be
placement.
interesting if the guy has like a career in weightlifting as a male.
Yeah, this is
that
someone
we can
who,
get some info on that.
Yeah, I forgot the name again. Maybe someone in chat is bored enough. But yeah, this just looks like some. Oh, Laurel Hubbard. Okay. Yeah, but this looks just like some random dude who wanted to get some easy wins. This is your actual bender. Born 78.
So 42. 43. That's fair. Well, weightlifting, I guess
Okay.
you can do it at any age. Just about.
Hubbard set New Zealand junior records in 98. Okay, that is something. As a kid, but you can just take a break and then never do anything in between. In 2012, Hubbard transitioned to female. Began hormone therapy in 2012. Beat international weightlifting first time in 2017. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you if you can't keep anywhere? Oh, and won an international weightlifting in New Zealand in 2017 probably.
Silver.
The way I read this.
Pacific Games gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although Hubbard met eligibility requirements to compete, win was met with criticism, with some other competitors saying the competition was unfair. So probably went into the women's division there, and yeah, outclassed everyone. And now went into the Olympics and yeah, just fuck off. That doesn't look that doesn't look like a person who actually had training in weightlifting, not at the Olympics here. The other one is that we've heard a lot of these cases of trans women who went to the Olympics either dropped out prematurely or seemed like they lost deliberately. And this might be also the case here, why this isn't first place again or closer to first place. It's hard to tell. Maybe we'll learn the truth in a couple of years. But yeah, fuck this shit.
All right.
about a bunch of trans women winning sports and quote-unquote dominating sports, but that's because they're the exciting stories that you get to hear about.
They're in. Okay, if you make it to the Olympics, you're pretty damn good at whatever you're trying to do. Okay. The same with the Worlds. No, you can't just get into the Worlds because you want to. You have to pass a certain level of efficiency quality. You have to like, have a certain speed, a certain weight class. You have to have something behind you. You can't just apply and go, yeah, just come on in. The world, Jesse. Everyone in the world who wants to compete at an event has to try out. There's tryouts. You go through this whole process. Canada did that in 1980 or 1982 to get into the soccer, men's soccer. And they got 1-0 or was it, did they score a goal at Greece? I can't remember. It was something ridiculous. Like, oh my God, Canada actually scored a goal. And I think they didn't get through, but they actually, like in the tryouts, it was amazing because no one was expecting Canada to do anything. And they did. They didn't win, but they got somewhere, which was pretty impressive in the 80s at least. So there are tryouts. If you can pass the tryouts, that means you're pretty amazing to compete in the Olympics. I don't know why this is such a, you could do your personal best in your own gym or whatever, but I don't think she understands the process.
There are of trans women in sports who aren't winning, who you don't hear anything about exactly. They aren't winning. So we kind of have a little bit of a confirmation bias here. When you go looking for trans women beating sports, you're going to find some trans women who are beating sports.
Why are they getting gold medals?
The totality of the conversation. But also, secondly, the science is still out if trans people have an advantage at all.
Oh, God.
Are you fucking retarded? The science isn't out. Like, are you fucking retarded? Or are you just a liar? My God. If you shot yourself, you'd finally have something in your head.
Yeah, this is... All right. God. Maybe another 30 seconds. This is getting silly.
And if they do, in what ways and in what sports? I mean, I've talked
every sport. Speed, strength.
Jesse, just because you're a lazy bum doesn't mean that if you trained, you wouldn't outperform women. And I told you, go to a random pub and arm wrestle all the women and see how many you'll beat. Naturally.
All right.
This in my other video in longer detail, but the long and short of it is that maybe trans women, due to having something like higher bone density, due to having gone through a specific puberty, may have a bigger advantage in sports like boxing.
It's not just bone density, you bloody idiot.
Higher bone density. Are you serious? This is your argument.
Bone density is one issue because estrogen does lead to too much leads to osteoporosis.
That's why, women have problems with menopause.
That is one element. Thanks for the acknowledgement between differences between the sexes, you bloody science denier. Thank you for giving us something. Also, skeletal structure. That means force and weight is distributed in different ways, which also makes it easier to weightlift, by the way. Muscle mass. And that starts with the how do you say this? How the muscles connect to the bones. How the tissue connects. That is already larger in us due to the male puberty, which allows for bigger muscle growth. So that is why, and this is a sad truth. Yes, if for some reason I end up in a Viking grave and 1,000 years later they'll excavate me and they'll analyze my skeleton, yes, they will say this was a man. And they will be able to reconstruct how I looked in some way and probably end up with the male version that I would have been had I not been on hormones, by looking for the places at the bones where the muscles attach, and thereby they can extrapolate how big the muscles were, attach those, and then drape the skin over that. And that's how this is being done in science all the time when trying to reconstruct how did cavemen look, how did people from so many thousand years or 10,000 years or even older look. This is how we do it, and that's how we can tell whether it was a man or a woman. Sometimes the skull can look androgynous, and then you look at the details, put all the stuff together, and then say, oh, this was a man. That's interesting. Without doing any karyotype testing, which is checking for the chromosomes. So, like, Jesse, you're just a dunce. You know nothing about science. Nothing. Zero. Zitch. Nada.
All right. Let's go for another 30 seconds before we go into silly talk, which we're already in.
This is all silly talk.
Don't. The science isn't really fully clear yet. But even further, though, trans women may even have age
You're an idiot.
in certain sports, and something like, say, sprinting, where that same bone density may weigh them down and slow them down, and also mixing with the fact that they've been on hormones may cause them to be able to have less oxygen capacity.
Oh,
so
what is she even?
So,
I can't even. Bone density slows them down. Like, what the fuck?
Sprint. Okay, Jesse. In sprinting, we are using dextrose. We're not using any other energy. When we use, after a certain time that we sprinted and the dextrose is used up, then we move to burning oxygen in the muscles. Dextrose is for the quick thing. So a sprint is a short dash. That's just dextrose. That's what leopards do. When their dextrose has run out, they're not chasing their prey anymore. They regenerate. You know less about the human body than I, and that's just horrible. And you want to teach people about anything? Your whole channel is a disgrace and misinformation. You are the living embodiment, the manifestation of misinformation. And it's you are the reason why there are children transitioning and later on regretting it. And they will blame you. They will blame you for their suffering and their coming suicide. You.
All
you
right.
have that blood on your hands.
Let's get started with stream memes. I'm pretty much done with this. This is...
Yay.
Yeah, not fun. All right.
Yeah, I'm
what do we got here?
I'll just getting more angry as this continues.
Yeah. Okay. Aura Master, D3X, thank you. Macho Madness, Stunning and Brave. Strong Woman Competition. Oh my God. What the hell? Isn't Macho Man dead? Didn't he die a while ago?
Not in South Park.
Oh, he's still alive.
Yeah, but it's right. Oh yeah. We didn't even go into the MMA fight with that alleged trans woman that cracked the skull of the woman and I think that alleged trans athlete then bragged about being happy about that because beating up transphobes is a just thing. Like bragging about breaking someone's skull.
Okay.
And looking forward to doing it again. Like, these people are psychopaths.
I don't know what's going on here, but I guess Aura Master D3X likes her a lot because he says "death by snoo snoo" and everyone's smiling at the fact. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know the Amazons in Futurama?
There's an episode about them, and they like pretty much like snoo snoo is like sex in there. So.
Yeah, in their language.
No, I understood that, but apparently this is what Aura Master enjoys.
Well, the Amazons look like that monster up there.
What is this? Jessie Gender Blair White? What's going on? Is that American Dad? What is that?
That's mostly female-looking body, and then this super male face.
Yeah. A strap-on caused my transgender revelation. Why?
That is not an edit. That's an actual video from.
What?
I don't.
How?
I don't want to know.
Okay. This is a fetishist.
Yeah. No. Obviously.
It can't. You don't. This asshole does not have gender dysphoria. This asshole is not trans. No transitional means will make you trans. They may fuck you up, but they don't make you trans. Like if you need a sex toy to realize whether you're trans or not, you're not trans.
Was there
You know
ever
that
a
from
doubt that this
you
is
know
a
that
sex
from
pervert?
single-digit childhood. You may not understand it at the time and put it into words, but you are suffering from it.
All right, this is a response from, are you retarded or a liar? And Jessie Gender's response, a little bit of both. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to leave my comments. Good Lord.
Aren't you blocked by her?
I think I am. I'm going to post it on Twitter anyway. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's too big. I mean, this is stuff that you are lying or just stupid to say. The stuff coming out of her mouth is, the science isn't settled. What is science going to discover? That boys are stronger and faster than girls? What we've known, which we've known for all our lives, for thousands.
The only
of years?
thing we have more data on is IQ.
Well, yeah, but we're not judging.
And that is something we actually needed data on, but the sex differences we didn't need data on to know. We just have the data now on top of millennia of experience. All around the world.
All right, guys. Well, once a month we're good for Jessie Gender. Same with other YouTubers, just not all at once, of course. So thank you for the suggestion. I didn't mind the video today, but we can only tolerate so much because
you did mind it because you cut it short an hour earlier.
Yeah, but if we keep going, she's gonna keep saying more random crap. And,
isn't that what we're here for?
The
pain. What are we here for?
Yes and no. I mean, there's
Why are we here?
I mean, if it was a 20-minute video, I'd keep going. I mean, this is 32 minutes of her rambling on about the same topic she talks about every goddamn video.
The problem is that she's rather repetitive. Like she just doesn't make any new points, and she's just like trying to like.
And there's no substance.
The shit out of it.
There's no substance, and it's all wrong.
She went off topic. Once you start going off topic, I'm like, okay, this is not what you should do in your videos.
Yeah. And honestly, until this day, until this video, I gave Jessie Gender the benefit of the doubt of being an actual trans woman. After this shit, and especially that thumbnail someone dug up, was you, Mark. No, that's not a trans woman. That's a fetishist. And that's probably why there's so much coping here.
Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate your time, and keep the suggestions coming. Keep the voting going. I think we were almost not going to do this video because it wasn't loading properly, but I'm glad we did once in a while. Always nice to talk about media and whatever bizarre, relevant news items regarding, just happens to be the Olympics this time of year. It's always nice to be relevant. But yeah, keep them coming. I do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you real soon. Have a great day.